Good. Am I on? I'm on. Good morning. I am Amy Firestein, her, she pronouns, and I look forward to sharing leadership of today's service with Reverend Bran Lennox. Whoever you are, wherever you live, whomever you love, and however you choose to spend your days, you are welcome at the Unitarian Church of Harrisburg. We invite you to join us for coffee hour following this morning's service, either downstairs in the common room or on Zoom. I invite you now to take this moment to hold our space here as sacred by silencing your electronic devices and preparing yourself to be present. Online or in person, we are very grateful for this time together.
Today's call to worship was written by the Reverend Molly Hammerhand. What is the use of worship in a world of hostile architecture where the human act of sitting and resting is treated as sin? What do we gain from gathering when cries to comply with orders drown out reason, compassion, and sense? How do we breathe together, dream together, and hope together when shock steals the air from our lungs, the screams of frightened neighbors steal our sleep, and a flood of lies steals our understanding? Good questions, all. But listen. The use of worship is to remind ourselves that humanity is of worth and that cynical choices that deny our bodies and needs are not. In gathering, we gain resilience and the reassurance that we are never alone, and that orders given from corrupt mouths are neither lawful nor just. We breathe, we dream, we hope by being each other's heir, by giving neighbors cause to rejoice rather than fear, by lifting up the truth, no matter who would have it silenced. In this embodied time and place, in our resilient and reassured spirits, in our truth, our joy, our breath, let us worship. Each week, it is our tradition to light a chalice, which casts a circle of light to hold us all. As we create anew this symbol of our shared faith, let's reflect on these words by Barbara Stevens. Let this be a place of warm and gentle silence, the silence that soothes and comforts the wounded, the silence that yields insights into heart and soul, the silence that calms, the silence that listens, the silence that speaks, the silence that renews. Let this be a place of warm and gentle silence.
We affirm our mission to encourage, equip, and empower, and we ask that you join in the affirmation of our covenant with one another. Love is the spirit of this congregation, and service is our gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Today's story is titled Charlotte and the Quiet Place by Deborah Sosin. Charlotte's house is noisy. In the hallway, the floorboards groan. In the living room, the TV bellows and blares. In the kitchen, her dog, Otto, yips, yaps, and yowls. Even in her bedroom, which is supposed to be a quiet place, the old steam radiator hisses and whistles and whines. Where can Charlotte find a quiet place? Charlotte's school is noisy. In the classroom, the bell clangs. In the lunchroom, the trays clatter and crash. On the playground, the swings creak, squeak, and rattle. Even in the library, which is supposed to be a quiet place, the children giggle, yammer, and yell. Where can Charlotte find a quiet place? Charlotte's neighborhood is very, very noisy. On the sidewalk, the jackhammers blast. On the street, the sirens warble and wail. Underground, the subway screeches, rumbles, and roars. Even in the park, which is supposed to be a quiet place, the leaf blower, buzzes, blusters, and burns. "No," cried Charlotte, "I have to find a quiet place." One Saturday morning, Charlotte takes Otto for a walk. In the park, Otto spots a squirrel, and he lurches free. Charlotte chases Otto, charging down the hill, over the bridge, and into a grove where Otto skids to a stop. Charlotte and Otto are out of breath. Together, they sit down to rest. They close their eyes. Charlotte's belly rises up and down, up and down. Her breath goes in and out, in and out. Oh. Her mind slows down. Oh, it is quiet at last. It is so quiet, so quiet that Charlotte notices an even quieter place. A place deep in her belly where her breath is soft and even. A deep place in her mind where her thoughts are hushed and low. A place as quiet as the small silence on the very last page of her favorite book. The silence right after the end. Oh. When Charlotte is ready, she and Otto hike slowly away from the grove, back over the bridge and up the hill toward home. Nowadays, Charlotte's house is still noisy. Her school is still noisy. And her neighborhood is still very, very noisy. But Charlotte remembers that day in the park. So wherever she is, whenever she wants, whenever her world is too noisy, Charlotte simply closes her eyes and travels back to that peaceful place. Oh. That place deep in her belly where her breath is soft and even. The place deep in her mind where her thoughts are hushed and low. The quiet place inside. And now our children will walk downstairs for their classes.
The Importance of Presence by Barbara F. Myers. Once during my ministerial internship, a woman I'll call Clara came up to me during the hustle and bustle before the Sunday service. I knew that Clara struggled with anxiety, and now in great distress she told me how anxious she was and that she didn't know what to do. She was frantic, and I didn't know what I could do for her. At a loss, I suggested that we get out of the busy hallway and go together to a nearby empty room. I sat with her there, holding her hand in silence and thinking, what can I do? What can I say? I don't know what to do. After a couple of minutes, she said to me, I feel so much better just sitting here with you. I was amazed to realize that just by being present with Clara, caring about her, I had helped her, that my presence in and of itself was a gift, and that her acknowledging it was a gift to me.
My reflection this morning is titled, Take a Number. Have you ever been in a meeting on Teams and have someone trying to call you while you're in that meeting? And yes, if anybody knows anything about Teams, you have a little dot in the top and it shows you green for available or red for not. My dot was red. And so while the call is coming in, I'm forced to decline that call. And meanwhile, I'm still in this meeting. And while I'm in this meeting, somebody is Teams chatting me. Hey, can you give me a call when you have a minute? And then that same person who tried calling me, whose call I declined, tries calling me again. So I'm forced to decline that call and then type in, I'm in a meeting, I will call you when I can. And no joke, 2 or 3 more people say, hey, can you give me a call when you have a second? To which at that point my response is, well, you are now number 5 or 6 in line, and I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Believe it or not, that happens to me at least once a week, more than once sometimes. And I'll be completely honest with you, sometimes I myself am competing with my own attention. I have so many thoughts going on in my head that until I can find a pen and paper and make a list, I can't quiet the noise. This will happen to me sometimes in the middle of the night when I'm in a particularly creative mood and I have a story that my muse keeps whispering ideas in my head, or I have a craft that I want to finish. If I don't get up and write it down, I will be up all night. Now, this may be hard for some of you to believe, but I am not someone who can easily sit still, especially when there are tasks that need doing. I can be at a friend's house or at a party, and I always manage to gravitate to the kitchen to help with the dishes or stay after to help clean up. It probably stems from me being the oldest of 3 daughters and having that sense of responsibility thrust upon me at an early age. Not at my parents doing necessarily, just being the oldest and 10 years between me and my youngest sister just kind of became ingrained. But believe it or not, I really do enjoy being busy. At work, I juggle a lot of different projects and responsibilities on any given day and in any given hour on that same day. Here at church, you can usually see me running around before and even after service, helping to make sure all the little service things get done so that those who are in the main part of the service can rest at ease and concentrate on the service itself. We had a maintenance manager at my office a few years ago who would greet me every day and ask a variety of different questions ranging from, so, what hat are you wearing today? Or, have you finally added marketing to your business card? Or, my favorite of all, so, how small is the print on your business card now that it manages to fit all of your titles on it? It is amazing, however, how life can throw you a huge curveball, and that forces you to slow down and look at your priorities in a different light, or just reflect on yourself. Just after the holidays, someone I had only just met commented that I looked stressed. I thought really hard about that comment. First, this person barely knew me. And second, since they knew this, if your parents were both in the ICU with uncertain futures, and suddenly you had to be worried about more than just the normal everyday things, wouldn't you be stressed? To be honest, though, I don't know that it was necessarily stress that this person felt I was projecting, but more a sadness and a weariness that is not my normal nature. And it made me realize that I needed to find a way back to being me, to bring back that light that I usually project. And it was okay to let others take the lead for things that I normally take the responsibility for. Sitting with my mom in her rehab room, just keeping her company, watching some old 80s TV shows, my mom apologized for not being better company. And I told her that there was nothing to apologize for. And to be quite honest, It was nice to have a good reason to just sit around with nothing more to do than keep her company. While it is good to slow down and quiet the noises in my head, I still need noise around me. True quiet, to me, is eerie, especially in a quiet house. I honestly can't work without the TV on, and I usually put a show on that I've seen a million times so I don't have to concentrate on it, but it's noise in the background. Or I have music playing, music that I know, just so it's something in the background. And it's usually noise that I can tune out, but I know the sounds are still there. There is nothing wrong with finding time for yourself, something that I have to keep reminding myself. Finding a quiet, and as quiet as one can stand, spot to be yourself, to shut out the noise and chaos of life. That it is okay to rely on others to bear some of the burden of life or your job, and that we don't have to be the single sole responsible one to complete a task. That it's okay to spend an entire day doing absolutely nothing but binge watching a TV show on some streaming service because you just can't stop watching, because you just need that time away from it all. And it's okay to do any of these things or all of these things and not feel guilty for doing so, because after all, if we don't take care of ourselves first, what good are we to anyone else?
Thank you, Amy. Let's all join together now in the spirit of meditation. There is a famous work of music celebrating the gifts of silence. And no, it's not the one we just heard. It was written by John Cage. It's called 4:33, also known as 4 minutes and 33 seconds. John Cage was an experimental composer who liked to subvert traditional ideas about art and music. 4:33 is perhaps his most notorious work due to the fact that it is performed in complete silence. Cage didn't just compose it this way to make people uncomfortable. The first time it was performed, it was in an outdoor venue. His intent was to call the audience's attention to the sounds of life and nature around them. It was an invitation to really listen to the quiet realities happening around us and observe whatever we discover. I invite you to join me in the spirit of meditation this morning as Chris leads us in our own collective performance of 4 minutes and 33 seconds. Although this may feel like a long time to remain in silence or stillness together, I encourage you to stay with it. When you catch your mind wandering, simply return your attention to listening, both inwards and outwards. What can you hear, or what can you not hear? What do you notice, both within yourself and in the space around you, when we are all being attentive together? When Chris leads us to the end of 4 minutes, 33 seconds, we will break our silence together by taking a slow breath in and then speaking aloud the holy word of your choosing. It might be amen, amen, ashe, swaha, may it be so, thank you, blessed be, or any other phrase which speaks to your heart. Now let us begin. Let's inhale appreciation and exhale with the holy word of your choosing. Find a stillness, hold a stillness, let the stillness carry me. Find the silence, hold the silence, let the silence carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony. Seek the essence, hold the essence, let the essence carry me. Let me flower, help me flower, watch me flower, carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony. When a member of our beloved community has died, we light a special candle in their honor. This past Tuesday, Betsy Hefner passed away very suddenly after suffering a heart attack. Betsy was known and well loved by many here at UCH. She and her husband Joe have been members for many years, and the shock and grief of her loss are shared throughout our community. With love in our hearts for Betsy, her family, and all those who grieve today, we light this candle of remembrance. Now is the time when we engage as a community in the sharing of our joys and sorrows, our concerns and milestones. When we join together to hold each other in support and in celebration, we deepen our sense of interrelationship. We may find our sorrows eased and our joys magnified. I invite you to share them now, either through writing them on a slip at the back of the room or typing them in the virtual chat. Please indicate whether your message is okay to share out loud, and if you're sharing somebody else's news, please be sure that you have their permission. You can also honor whatever you're holding in your heart by placing a stone into the water of community. Please come down the center aisle, returning to your seats by the side aisles. Spoken or unspoken, our hearts join with yours in carrying all that life brings. place a final stone this morning for the joys and sorrows of all those who are joining us in spirit, but not in body today. Molly S. shares, I just had knee surgery on 1/8 and it went well. Now is the long road to recovery. Joe Hefner shares with us, on behalf of Betsy and our family, thank you for your kind words. Jim and Nan Kavanaugh have news. They share, this is a mix of joy and sorrow. We have applied to Bethany Village for a cottage in the next 3 to 5 years, and so begins the process of downsizing our possessions in the house we've lived in since 1975. We have an anonymous offering. This person says, I started attending church again. We're so glad you're here. Margie Schubauer also shares that Molly Stahl is recovering well from this week's knee surgery, and Margie says she appreciates our support. For all that has been shared and those many things which are on our hearts and yet remain unspoken, we journey with each other in love. If you have ever dropped by the church on a weekday and caught me here, you may have caught on to a funny detail about my behavior. Unless I'm talking with someone else, I just about always have headphones on. It's true all day as I go about my activities, I'm always listening to something. Whether it's music, audiobooks, podcasts, or rain sounds, the input is constant. And to be honest with you, as much as I do enjoy all of those sounds, most of the time I'm actually listening because of what I do not want to hear. As part of my ADHD, I have auditory processing issues, and I struggle with something called misophonia. Literally translated as hatred of sound, misophonia is an intensely negative, involuntary reaction to certain types of noises. If you don't experience misophonia, you might be able to relate to the sensation as fingernails on a blackboard. Misophonia is relatively common, though what sets different people off is different. Lots of folks struggle with chewing noises or crinkling sounds, but for me, it's any repetitive tapping or rattling. Clocks ticking, water dripping, the roof over my office flapping in the wind. All of these can send me into sensory overload and make me really irritable. It gets worse when I'm especially tired and stressed or when I need to focus on a difficult cognitive task. Good thing I'm in a line of work which never puts me in any of those positions. And so my headphones are my best friends. And there is, of course, a downside to this. If I never take a break from the intentional auditory input, I do get mental fatigue after a while. I also start to have trouble being present in the moment, and if I really overdo it, I can start to feel crowded out of my own mind. So when I decide to take a break, sometimes I'm surprised just to realize everything that I miss out on hearing. Once in a previous congregation, I led a Prayer for UU's workshop. The final session was focused on trying out some of the practices we had been studying. It was a nice day and the windows were open, and some folks decided to explore their practices outside near our labyrinth. When we reconvened to discuss our experiences, many of the participants commented on the unique bird song they had heard out there. For some, it had even led to a deep sense of connection with nature and with life. The first time I felt called to write about silence, I needed similar inspiration. So I went for a walk in the woods. I took a deep breath, and I took off my headphones. I heard a chorus of birds. I heard the gentle crunch of my footsteps on the path. I heard water flowing. I heard children laughing. I heard the breeze in the treetops. Listening closer, I heard the distant whoosh and vroom of cars on the highway. I heard my phone buzz in my pocket. I heard the ringing in my ears. I heard my busy inner dialogue. I heard my own doubts and worries. I no longer heard the birds. Nothing in that forest was louder than my urgent inner chatter. So often, when we work together in community, we end up in situations where our process is tripped up by a lack of capacity to listen to one another. Unitarian Universalists are eager thinkers with many ideas and opinions we are often itching to share. In a highly pressurized times like these, the pressure to add to the noise intensifies, and I'm certainly not exempt from this myself. This happens at UCH just about an average amount for a UU community. The scenarios are familiar. In choir rehearsals, folks will become so eager to help their neighbor or raise questions and comments of their own that they miss hearing the very information they were looking for. Or in a committee meeting, someone will ask an important question, and before anyone has a chance to answer, someone else cuts in with an off-topic question of their own. Or someone will start talking about an important subject and continue a minutes-long stream of thoughts, forgetting to leave space for dialogue. That's my sin. It shows up in email conversations, too. A reply all message raising something that was concluded in an earlier message in the same email thread, if we'd just taken the time to read back a little. Does this ring a bell for anybody? And the hardest part of all of this to observe sometimes is that the folks who are quieter, who tend to listen before talking, rarely get an opportunity to voice their own thoughts. And I know exactly why we get into these patterns. It's because nothing in the forest is louder than the busy inner chatter. When I was in seminary, we had a student covenant which contained the powerful agreement, "We will allow and honor silence." We loved this line so much that, ironically, we would often read it louder than any of the others at the beginning of class time. I've tried to carry the spirit of this agreement into my other covenants, and it always serves us well. It's easier said than done, of course, and with packed agendas and the stressors of maintaining a progressive congregation in recent years, making space for quiet pauses often feels impossible. Maybe it even feels like a waste of precious time. But as always, when we challenge our fear of scarcity, beautiful things can happen. When I started practicing ministry, pausing before speaking got a lot easier for me. This was not for any virtuous reason, really, but rather because I was so petrified of saying the wrong thing that I actually had to think for a minute before saying anything. In pastoral visits, this pause had the unexpected effect of prompting the congregant to resume speaking. And at times, I would go the whole hour without saying more than 10 or so words. I started to realize that saying the right thing was not nearly as important as demonstrating with my face and my body language that I was truly paying attention. Just like Barbara Myers wrote in our reading earlier, the important part is the presence. The next thing I learned was that when I stopped worrying about what I wanted to say next, it got a lot easier to pay attention to the other person's words. I started leaning into an inner silence to help me listen better. Now, the next learning that followed was the most unsettling of all. When my inner chatter was the loudest thing in the room, I only thought that I understood what the other person was telling me. But when I was distracted, listening to my own thoughts were the lens through which I interpreted and inferred their meaning. Quieting my thoughts and being present helped me learn to ask questions and to reserve judgment. I started to learn to try to hear someone's words from their own point of view instead of mine. I can tell you, when someone starts talking about a justice issue from a perspective that I disagree with, staying quiet actually feels like I'm being set on fire. But only when I choose to pause and listen to their actual words do I have any hope of understanding them clearly enough for my own contributions to the discussion to be in any way helpful or meaningful. The difficult conversations are most powerful when they move slowly, allowing plenty of spaciousness for intentional silence to accumulate, but without slipping into disconnection. Holding silence together deepens relationship, which is what allows us to grow in understanding. Something we can all practice, regardless of whether we are quick to speak up or quick to be silent, is to know when using our voice is important. The rhythm of speech and silence in a conversation can be difficult enough, but speaking up is so much harder in the most vital moments. Speaking out against oppression and marginalization, whether for ourselves or someone else. Speaking counter to unjust power, resisting manipulation, offering our thoughts for someone's feedback when you aren't sure that you're right. Setting boundaries, offering apologies, reaching out for repair of a damaged relationship. In tumultuous times, we often either shut down out of fear or feel compelled to make a lot of noise out of anger. Fear and anger are both reasonable and acceptable emotions. But as always, it's important that we act on our choices rather than our immediate reactions. When it comes to current events, there is a crushing wave of noise out there. Ask yourself something. If I add to this conversation, am I creating signal or noise? When it comes to liberation work, am I relying too heavily on the cheap release of chiming in on pointless debate? Am I falling into the trap of tuning into chatter? When I stop to listen, what other opportunities for constructive action might arise? In this time, we really must care about what's going on out there. But caring also means maintaining an awareness that we don't have all the answers and being prepared to continue learning. It means seeking out the quieter messages amid the tumultuous market of attention and tuning into the voices of the people whom those who wield unjust power would wish to silence. It means considering very carefully when we choose who and what to repeat. While letting ourselves get swept up into the tornado of media noise is not the answer, neither is stiffening up and shutting down. Futilely attempting to shut out unwanted stimulus only leaves us in an agitated and stuck state of being. A couple of years ago, I read an excellent book called Golden by Justin Zorn and Lee Mars. And this book changed my life in one truly unexpected way. In one chapter, the authors share the story of a woman who suffered terribly from tinnitus, which is the high-pitched ringing of the ears. And I apologize to everyone who suddenly became aware of their ears ringing. She was in a stressful job, and at some point, she adopted the practice of going home and doing a sort of meditation by listening to her own ears ringing as though it were beautiful music. I was intrigued. At the time that I was listening to this part of the audiobook, I was in a crowded grocery store. I stopped at the end of the aisle and took off my headphones, and I pretended for a moment that the ringing I always heard in my ears was the singing of a choir of angels. Within 30 seconds, I felt something deep in my jaw relax, and the ringing faded to near silence. To this day, every time I notice an uptick in tinnitus, I will pause and listen directly to it as though it were music that I love. And every time as my sense of resistance falls, so does my tension and the volume of the sound, and nothing remains unmanageable. Which leads me to a challenge for myself as much as you. Is it possible to listen directly to the noise which is causing us the most distress, open to it as though it were neutral or even pleasant, and let it be? If we can experience it for a minute or two with equanimity, what changes then? That day long ago, when I went walking into the woods, the sun began to set and I turned to head home. Following the path out of the woods, the words spinning through my brain came to an abrupt halt when I realized I had almost walked right into a group of 3 white-tailed deer. I plunged into stillness a few yards away, adopting an inner quiet as we stood and gazed at each other. In my inner noise, I had almost missed their quiet presence. They gifted me a few minutes to stop and embrace wonder. I wonder what other connections I've missed lately because my thoughts were the loudest sound in the room. And like the deer who are only capable of arriving just as they are, I wonder who I've shaken out of their reverie by showing up in my truth. My invitation to you this week is to allow and honor silence. When you're alone, take some intentional moments to tune in to the quiet around you. Try letting your awareness of the world's stressors become breathable. In conversation, try letting your inner chatter take a back seat as you listen. In group settings, pause before you speak, and double check that what you're saying is necessary at that particular moment. If you find yourself rushing to fill silence, check in on what's making you uncomfortable. Are you afraid that you need to have something interesting to say so you won't seem disengaged? Are you trying to block something out that's putting you on edge? Are you frantic to feel like you're doing something about the state of the world? Are you just desperate to externalize some of your inner noise? And think, what other tools might you have to meet those needs? Today in coffee hour, speak your thoughts generously, but cushion them in soft spaces of quiet togetherness. Let our shared time here be a refuge where our bodies and minds can find moments of peace, tapping into our resilience and offering one another profound grace. May it be so. Amen.
Good morning, I'm Chris Dutton, and I serve on the UCH Board of Trustees. I'm here to represent the important labor and leadership that our members offer to keep this congregation thriving. The Unitarian Church of Harrisburg is an intentionally gathered congregation of free-thinking, loving people. The church is created, sustained, and supported by us. Each week, we take up an offering where we ask each other to share money to support the church. We also use half of this money to help a charity which is doing important work to improve the world. This month, we are sharing with Gracie's House. Founded in 2023 in Lidditz, Gracie's House helps provide resources to improve the quality of life for LGBTQ+ youth and their families. It also sponsors Pride Camp, the first and only overnight camp for LGBTQ+ youth, siblings, and allies in Pennsylvania. The offering is specifically targeted to support the 2026 summer camp to enable youth to attend regardless of financial means. In just a moment, the greeters will start passing offering plates around. You can put cash or checks in the plate when it comes by. You can also donate online by scanning the QR code on the back of your order of service, or by visiting uchbg.org and scroll to the bottom of the page for options. Your financial support and commitment matter. Please consider giving what you are able. Thank you.
Spiritual History by Mark Bellatini. Let my body remember. Let my hands and feet remember. Let my breath remember. Those who have come before me, those who come before us. Didn't Muhammad wait quietly in his cave? And didn't Jesus sigh silently by the blue lake? And Guan Yin, didn't she sit in silence, thinking about what to do before doing it? And what was Siddhartha and the Buddha doing anyway, under the tree, if not just sitting quietly? And Susan B. Anthony, didn't she push back from her desk and take a breath now and then? And Florence Nightingale, didn't she put down her nurse's hat and think silently about what to write in her essay on mysticism before she actually wrote it? And Sophia Faz, didn't she stop telling stories sometimes and just sit there? And didn't Black Elk just notice the sunlight glancing off his chair sometimes? And Starhawk, does she only talk and write, or does she too keep silence? Let us remember them with all our body. Let us remember them all with our bodies. Let us remember them with the silence they too knew.
These benediction words come from Amy Zucker Morgenstern. In every person we meet, especially those who cause us discomfort, we find an opportunity for us to grow, to learn, to go further along the path of transformation that is our purpose in life. Every single one is our teacher. May the next week bring you so many such moments of meeting that help you become the person you want to be, and may you welcome them with joy.
Well, people are thinking that, so that's always